dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle. And let's begin exploring the wine glass. Today, I'm sitting down with Gibsey and Josh Beckett of Thibido Winery in Paso Robles. Josh comes from a long history of wine in the region, working with his parents and even creating his own brand with his brother. But he was still searching for more. Together, he and Gibsey are fulfilling their dream of owning and farming their own estate vineyard. Thibido wine labels have unique names, and the wines inside are just as distinctive. If you enjoy exploring the wine glass, I'd appreciate you giving me some love by taking 2 minutes out of your day and swipe to rate and review on whatever app you are listening on. It is the best way to support the show. Also, if you would like to keep up on all things Exploring the Wine Glass, head over to exploringthewineglass.com and sign up for the newsletter. Slancha! Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, Spanish wine scholar, sommelier service, champagne and Côte d'Ivoire specialist, and a WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials, as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. Stay in the know about all things wine by visiting my website, exploringthewineglass.com. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Allure of the Poor, sponsored by Dracaena Wines. I am your host, Lori, and today, unfortunately, I am not on location because I would love to be out again, but I am home, and today we have two special guests. We have Gibsey and Josh Beckett of Thibido Winery in Paso. So welcome.
Hi.
So busy day today. So thank you for taking the time out to talk to me and to share your wines and your story.
Busy 2022. Here we go.
All right. Did we pop champagne? Did we do that?
Yeah, because we started last week. So,
oh my.
Yeah, we're moved on. We're gonna go. Yeah.
Well, today was our first.
Our first pick for our vineyard. Yeah, that I get between moving stuff and picking and cruise, and we just now are full pedal to the metal.
Yep. It's that time of year. So the first question I just want to say, Josh, you grew up in the wine industry. Your family has been in Paso for a very long time or whatever. But so my first question, what was Paso like when you were a kid?
It was unique. It was very there wasn't much going on. There was not a lot of culture. There wasn't good food. I grew up, in if you go out to Peachy Canyon, where I actually grew up today, it's like a different planet compared. There was probably 8 or 10 kids, and we just raised hell living out there, and between guns and motorcycles, and it was a free for all. And we rode a tiny bus to get to school every day. It took an hour each way. And when I went to in homecoming in high school was the car hop A&W, Le Petit Canaille or Il Cortile or the Hatch, all these fabulous restaurants we have now and awesome stores, that we have to shop. It was, if you wanted food or you wanted to do something, you go to Slow. And quite the opposite. We world-class wine, but also with the food and art and everything. And it was a lot of cowboys and rednecks, really, and some hippies here and there. But now it's amazing. It's a different world. I am fortunate to have seen what it was, and I still have friends who I grew up with who, are still in town and aren't in the wine business, and it's good to see them and good to see that they could stay. It hasn't gotten easier, hasn't gotten any cheaper.
No.
But yeah, it was just a small country town, really. It was tiny. And now it's amazing. We're pretty fortunate to be able to be a part of it and watch the evolution, for sure.
Yeah, I grew up we had a summer home that was in the middle of the woods of New Jersey. And when I was growing up, I thought it was so far away from my house. And then when I got married and we bought a house in this town, I was like, I'm 10 minutes from this place where I grew up, thinking it was like so far away. But it was kind of the same thing. Dirt bikes, and we used to ride our regular bikes down a hill and jump off a rock into a lake. I don't know how we survived, but
Yeah, we did the same adventures. We were literally, I think it's only 8 miles from town, but it was a super windy road, no center divider, no barriers. It was just a country road, dirt road that got paved over. And yeah, from taking turns driving back and forth, one person on the three-wheeler or the motorcycle, and everybody lined up BB guns as they drove by to shoot them, to taking shotgun shells and taking all the BBs out of it and tying the marble to it and throwing them, and just to hear them, and just
oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you, East Coast, West Coast, we were doing the same stuff. We were doing the same stuff. That is hysterical. I didn't think anybody else did that stupid stuff, but that's awesome. Now, Gibsey, where did you grow up? Were you Paso also?
I grew up in Visalia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up in the Valley. My roots, though, are from the San Luis Obispo County. My parents grew up here. They graduated from Mission Prep. They graduated from Cal Poly, so they just couldn't find jobs here. So they ended up moving over there. We were over there for my childhood, and my parents were teachers. And so we played a lot of sports and grew up there. And the minute we all got to be ready to fly, we flew the nest. My sister lives in Pismo, and we actually live in Morro Bay, so we commute to Paso. Okay. And then and my parents live in Lake Tahoe now. So
very nice, very nice. I saw that you went to Fresno State.
Oh yeah, I got my teaching credential at Fresno State, and then I graduated from the University of San Diego with my bachelor's, and that's where I met Josh.
Oh, okay. That led into my very next question: is how did you two meet?
Yeah. Josh was on the orientation team. He was on the board for the orientation to welcome all the freshmen at the University of San Diego. And I was 2 years
behind.
Yeah. And you were doing all the interviewing.
Yeah, we did it. My buddies and I decided if we could be a part of the orientation program, we could get first dibs on meeting all the incoming students.
And it worked.
Well, it wasn't incoming.
Gibsey wasn't upperclassmen. We had to put together teams. So it was a big deal to be a part of this orientation program. So upperclassmen would also volunteer to be a team member. You needed a whole bunch of kids or students to welcome all the incoming freshmen and transfers. And a couple of us were on the board, and then we got to select our team. So then we would go around and, oh yeah, we should take her. She could be on my team. And
yeah, I wanted nothing to do with it. None of my kids got chosen. And so I was like, I don't want to volunteer for a week. I won't be with my friends. I'd rather work. And I kept trying to back out of it, and they would not let me back out of it. And so very begrudgingly went, and he was my orientation sort of upper manager. And so I was in his group, and that was the end. That was it for me. We just sort of fell in step with each other and never fell out. So that's good.
And were you into wine at that point?
No, not really. No. I mean, I knew wine and I grew up with it. It was more, the winery was in the vineyard in particular was more, I was never put on restriction. It was, you go and do this work, and when you're finished, then you're not in trouble anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in the vineyard. A lot of that was hoeing weeds, painting fences.
I do remember one of our first dates, though. You came over to my house, and we were going to make spaghetti, and he showed up. This is a surfer boy in San Diego, and he showed up with a bottle of wine. And I remember thinking, okay, well, that's a step up from the typical San Diego surfer. And so, yeah, and you brought wine, and it was a Peachy Canyon, and the story unfolded, and
it wasn't definitely on my radar. I didn't have the appreciation, when there was, 8 or 9 wineries when I was a kid, including Peachy. So even my friends the winery was just a job. It wasn't like, oh, let's go out to the winery and go sneak bottles of wine, or let's go do this or go do that. It was, it just was there.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, even when I was off of college, I didn't have an appreciation really for what it was. And my parents never pushed us to have a need or a want for it. I do now wish they would have guided me maybe a little more, like, maybe pointed a direction to go, not to come into the winery right away.
Okay.
It wasn't until I graduated from college and I was just managing a surf shop and they were moving the tasting room that I got the call like, hey, we need your help now. We need you to come and do all our POS and get our inventory and our tasting room up and running. We're busy doing all this other stuff. Just come for like 2-3 weeks, and 2 or 3 weeks went by, and then, we're short for harvest. You want to stay for harvest? I was like, okay. And then 24 harvests later, here we are.
24 harvests later. All right. Okay. So I don't know if you remember which the wine was, but I think one of the most popular wines when we first discovered Peachy Canyon was Jester.
Oh yeah, the Jester, yeah.
Which then became
Cirque du Vin, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Still do Cirque du Vin. Our Bordeaux blend. It's a great price point. It's an easy drinking, very approachable, everyday kind of nice red. That we still enjoy doing.
I had a friend in New Jersey that every time we came out to Paso, I had to bring home a case of Jester for her. That she was addicted to it. I think it's a wonderful wine, but she was addicted to it. It really was. It really was. So then you traveled to Margaret River so this always blows my mind, and I kind of want to do it, but I've never bit it off to do that. But like, you just got up and went. Gibsey, did you go with him or?
Yeah. So actually, I had grown up. My parents lived in Australia for a couple of years, and so in my childhood, Australia was a hot topic. We had a kangaroo skin and a didgeridoo at our house, and my parents always reminisced. And so then with the wine industry, we kind of looked for places where Josh could get some experience. We could go somewhere where there was surf, and it was, and Australia is kind of a one-stop shop for that. And Margaret River was a good.
And a friend of ours had connections there.
Yeah.
Daniel Shaw, who was a winemaker at J-Lore a long time ago, and then he hooked us up with a winemaker at Cape Ventel. So.
And how's that? Like, thinking about what you learned there to bring back to here.
It was, I wish we could have done it many more times. I would, if our kids ever wanted to get in the wine industry, I would probably lean towards like a 4 or 5 times go do that in different places all over the world.
Right.
I have interns right now from Moldova, Mexico, New Zealand, and Argentina. I think it's an amazing experience. And for us, the winemaking was a great, I learned a lot of like cellar tricks and cellar things, the way they did
safety protocols. The company that Cape Ventel was huge. And so,
in comparison,
coming from Peachy Canyon, it was a big jump up to a more corporate guided winery.
The living on site, the hours, the shifts, how they ran it.
24-hour shifts. Yeah. And we lived in a little shack on the winery behind the main house that was an earth rammed house, which is popular in Australia. There's a couple of them in Paso, but yeah, the earth rammed homes, and they did a nice job. I thought we really loved the fact that they had a woman who cooked for the harvest crew 24 hours. She kept her open every day. At all times, you could come in and get all sorts of exotic, what I thought was exotic, and we were 20 in our early 20s. It's like, what's dal, and just these crazy stews, and she just kept it all ready. So that was a big takeaway, especially for us. For me, it was like, oh, this is a cool cultural experience or a cool culture to create in the winery. And so when we came back, that was a big
definitely
push.
That,
yeah, for both of us. I cooked well, we had to come home because I got pregnant. And so we brought a Sydney home. And
Aw.
so I cooked all the time with Sydney on my front, Sydney on my back, and every harvest we put together. I mean, sometimes at the beginning, I used to cook like 2 or 3 meals a day for 15 to 16 people, 5-6 days a week. I was there all the time.
Wow.
So it was full on. And yeah.
And the winemaking was cool. I mean, it was a lot of different techniques. It wasn't like earth shattering, like there's like changed everything, but there was little, how they stored full barrels and what devices they used to do pump overs and how hose fittings and valves and just little stuff like that, which is really cool. And then working with different varieties, like I never get to work with Semillon or Sauvignon Blanc, right? In Paso, there's very little, if any.
Yeah.
Stuff like that was cool. And they did have a little bit of Zinfandel. That was kind of another, when nobody has it down there. But they did make a little bit, which was kind of fun to go and talk about what I did back home and what they did and how it worked. And it was I wish we could have done it a lot more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And did any of those techniques that you learned over there or viewed over there, have you incorporated them into your winemaking style now?
Not in particular. I think it was more the culture that they had created. That was what we really has stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like the really
starting in the vineyard and really supporting the harvest crew through harvest, making that a priority is.
You can have all the cool equipment and all the cool tricks, but if you got a cellar team that's not happy and taking shortcuts or too tired or just are hungry, you'll make mistakes.
Right.
It's huge.
I think you kind of liken it to cooking, and they always say when you're cooking, if you lead with love, if you cook with love, the food tastes better, and if you have a harvest crew that is happy and joyful and having fun in their trade, the wine tastes better.
I get it. Yeah. And not only are they enjoying what they're doing, there's wineries that play music for the grapes and things like that. It's just a happy environment makes a happy product. I agree with it. Absolutely. Now, from there, you also did Chronic Cellars with your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go through that really quickly, but the names, because the reason why I wanted to bring up Chronic Cellar is because of the names of the wines. And although the wines here with the video are not as risque as Chronic Cellars, the names are really clever. So who's coming up with these names?
On the Chronic front, I came up with the Chronic Cellars concept and name. And then pretty much everything after that was my brother.
Okay.
He's clever and quick-witted and smart ass. And he really can like play on words. Like he's very good at it and taking things and making something into, nothing into something or whatever it is. He's really good at that. And then they always kind of had some sort of a story or how they would correlate with the label and with Joe, the artist, what he would do. And but then now, since then, it's been Gibsey really on the Thibido stuff.
Yeah.
So I love the names. I love the cleverness. So let's talk about the Best Day Rosé. So this is a 2021 Best Day Rosé. So where I know you have your own vineyard. So you planted the vineyard in 2019?
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you getting this fruit? Where are you getting this fruit from?
That is from the estate. That's the first.
Okay.
So 2021 was the first very, very, very light crop. There was literally only 4 clusters per plant on the whole vineyard. The last 2 years have been painful with how much fruit we've put on the ground. But we wanted to do, it was third leaf. We just wanted to test it out and play with it. And we did the reds are still in barrel from 21. We have like a barrel variety. And then, but the rosé we were able to come out with a little bit earlier. So that's the first wine off of the estate.
Okay, so Best Day Rosé, it's 100% Grenache. Now, I am a Grenache fiend. I absolutely love it. So what grapes are you growing besides the Grenache? You have like Mourvèdre on it, right? You have Zinfandel, which we're going to get to because that's pretty cool. But what else are you growing there?
2 different clones of Syrah, Carignan, Petit Syrah, and then the 3 different clones of Zin, and 2 different blocks of Grenache. One, like 2 different growing styles. So the rosé comes from a vertical cordon. And we have another block where it's on a VSP up on a wire, more traditional.
Okay, so talk us through what it was like so you're in the Willow Creek AVA. Okay, what's so special about the Willow Creek AVA that you decided this is where we're going to plant?
It's, there's, all of Paso is special, which, it does so many things so well, which is kind of almost a frustrating part of Paso because we can grow a lot of things really well. But the Willow Creek, it's proximity to the ocean. It's proximity to the Templeton Gap. It cools down a lot quicker. Its degree days are shorter, but it does get temperature that we want, but it'll definitely cool off a lot quicker and not stay as hot for as long as other parts of the AVA. It's calcareous, chalky limestone that it's got unbelievable water retention. It's, with that particular soil makeup, it can be, if you do irrigate, it's a minimal amount. There's a lot of dry farm, non-irrigated stuff in the Willow Creek and Adelaida districts. This particular place was just a clean slate, hillside, with, west, south, east, north facing orientation. So we could really get creative. It had a little bit of everything. And I had seen over the years the wines that were coming, in particular out of the Willow Creek. I had purchased fruit from different vineyards out of the Willow Creek. We have for chronic and peachy, and then so our friends do out of there. We have vineyards in the Adelaida and Templeton Gap prior, but we have never had our own vineyard in the Willow Creek. And it was just something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be able to hang our hat on it, and especially to have a clean slate. It was more affordable also without somebody already planting it.
We went year after year after year. Josh would drive around, every harvest or throughout the year, and he'd be sourcing fruit for chronic or sourcing fruit for peachy, and he'd say, "Ooh, I see a vineyard that's for sale. Look it up," And so we'd look it up and we'd go look at it, and then we'd push the pencil and go, "No, I can't afford it." And that went on for years. And we kept looking, and I can rattle off in my mind. I'm having all these memories of all these vineyards and drove around and, looked and tried to figure out how we could. Anyway, in the end, the only thing that we really could swing was raw dirt. And we thought, well, that's fine. We'll just plant it and work it out. And that's why nobody buys raw land either, because it's really hard to do. I mean, it takes so much patience and so much investment and so much time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was. But
if you're into it, it's worth it.
It was worth it. It's finally worth it. This is our first harvest, so we've arrived. But yeah, it was a long haul. So
now, when you chose that site, how did you decide which varieties you were going to plant there? Like, that's science in its own right to know which varieties go where. And you said you've got north, south, all these directions. How do you choose what goes where?
Definitely on the orientation stuff, what can handle more exposure, less exposure, what's going to be a late ripener, like Mourvèdre. Like, okay, we're not going to put Mourvèdre somewhere where it's not as much exposure. It's going to be hanging out there forever. And maybe the Grenache, we don't want to be right in direct sunlight and extreme heat. So we definitely played with that a lot. What's going to be picked first, what's going to hang late. Chose 1103P on the rootstock on everything except some of the Zin, just because it has good vigor, but also great needs very little water, has an awesome tap root, awesome system that'll go and thrive and find its own water. So we had to do minimal irrigation. And I think it was just laying out, it was a lot of orientation of where it was exposure, what could handle the most exposure, and be able to hang in there on these hot days. Like we're coming into today was, high 80s. And then the rest of the week now they're saying it's going to be 110.
Right. This weekend is hitting 111.
So, yeah. And then when I had kind of doubts or kind of maybe even questioned on how would the Grenache say per se handle that exposure. So I went extreme. I said, well, then we're going to put one Grenache facing straight east. So it's just going to get a lot of morning exposure. And then I did play with one going straight west, southwest, and see, okay, let's see what it can do. And let's see the different ripening and how the season, and how these vines hold up. And so far they're both still hanging in. They're great, but.
And then they'll add complexity to the wine, because they're going to be growing differently and they're going to have different characteristics.
Absolutely. Did the same thing with Syrah as well.
And then what's the reasoning behind the two different trellising systems?
I've always been a huge fan of like head pruned, Zin. I really think, and I don't know why, but I think Zinfandel really lends itself to growing better that way and producing optimum fruit that way. It's not cost effective because you can, the lack of vines per acre when you start doing that dry farm or that head prune stuff, just because you can't get through equipment through. And if you're especially dry farming, you're going to hit it multiple ways. But I've always wanted to I've seen the roans in the vertical head or the head prune stuff. It does phenomenal. And it's like, I don't question authority, right? Like why would I question what these other people are doing? If they're doing it well, we should be able to do it as well, if not better. So we ended up doing Syrah, Grenache, and Zinfandel in that vertical head. And they're just thriving. They just look happier. It looks more natural. I don't know. It's you put them and I'm almost to this day now, I'm like, I should have done the whole vineyard that way, but it's way more labor intensive.
Okay.
With the ballerina and the sprawl and having to tuck and move. And when you got all this wire and structure and tucking and the vines, they look too perfect almost. Everything's too exposed, where you let things in their natural habitat. The fruit likes it. The airflow is unbelievable. The natural shading is unbelievable. It can really do all these things that all of a sudden the VSP, now I got to buy shade cloth, and now I got to do this, and now I got to tuck, and because I want more exposure on this side, but I don't want it on this side, where this natural sprawl, it works.
And in terms of the Zinfandel, you did it on its own rootstock.
I did.
You like being a little risky, huh? A little chance.
The theme is experimental. We're very experimental.
Okay.
Yeah, if you saw today, I went into I did some Syrah. I did like 50% of it in the concrete and just said, just load it up, and then if it doesn't fit, just get in there and foot shred it. And then we're gonna go 50% destemmed on top of it. And I don't want to add no SO2, no nutrients, no acid, no yeast, no nothing. We're just gonna go and see. Let's go for it and see what happens.
For the bedfellow?
Yeah, whatever works. And I love experimenting. It keeps me energized. It keeps me enthusiastic. But if I can, I'm not beholden to any of that either. If that tank starts to go weird, or or we're running nutrient yams on it and the nutrients are not there, and it starts to get, I'll throw it at it. I'm not gonna I'm gonna risk ruining this wine because of that. I won't do that. But the own rooted stuff as well. You're risk to phylloxera and this and that. But the old Zin vineyards that are all on their native roots that are still kicking make some of the best Zin in the world. And I was able to get cuttings, wood from the Uberoth vineyard, which is an historic vineyard here in Paso.
That's like a bow down vineyard.
If I could do that and then keep it as 100%. You know, we manipulate everything from how we plant it and all the way to what we do in the winery. But if I could put these vines in the ground as is and see, and the little we got off of it last year was unbelievable. And this year it looks just as good, if not better. And then I did 2 other clones, some Mendocino clones that from the heritage block that I really liked through our experiments in the past. And those are on 1103, but so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, you dive, you zig, you zag, you weave, you see what works, what doesn't work. And, you know, you get the drop mic sometimes, and sometimes you gotta,
You know, but I think if we even as Thibido want to have, like, you know, right now, like you're in the business and you know how hard it is to sell a bottle of wine. And if we just go the same trajectory and the path that I know is comfortable and easy, and we'll get the product and we'll get the wine, but who does that make us, and why are we different? And when somebody asks what is Thibido, I have to have something, some sort of a story and something to separate from peachy and chronic and what we've done historically. So
okay. So I'm going to ask because I just realized I said it wrong. Thibido.
yeah.
How do you say it again?
Thibido.
Thibido. So I threw in an extra syllable in there. I was like, Thibido. So where does that name comes from?
That's a family name. That's actually Josh's mom's last name.
Okay.
And the Thibido family, it's spelled almost identical to the family name. We changed one vowel, but it was a way for us, you know, when Chronic started, it's a very masculine sort of push the envelope label. And so this was the counterpart to it, in the sense that we wanted to honor Josh's mom's side, and we have 2 daughters, and kind of spin it in a more feminine way. But the Thibido family in San Diego was based in Vista, actually, and really we've always just admired everything that they've done. They're super into their community, supportive of the family, giving back and opening their doors, and really connecting with people. And I think Josh's parents did a beautiful job of that with Peachy Canyon. And so for us, we thought, you know, this would be a really great way to pay homage to that family legacy.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so go ahead, Josh.
Chronic and stuff, right? We've gotten creative and made names, and from Jester to Sofa King to all this stuff. We're like, that's something that actually sticks,
carries the legacy on. Yeah, I mean, because as second generation, it's important to carry that legacy on for us.
And so your Grenache Blanc, which you are making all of my favorite varieties here. So Grenache Blanc is called First Date. So Gibsey, but you didn't bring a Grenache Blanc on that first date, did you?
Definitely a Zinfandel. It was definitely a Zinfandel. No, Grenache Blanc was an opportunity, I think, to just sort of create something that I'm always begging Josh to make whites or any wine that's a lower alcohol. Paso Robles is such a high octane region. And I feel like I'm gravitating more in my wiser years toward
I like how you say that.
alcohol wines that maybe are a little bit more refined on the palate. I think the Grenache Blanc is such a great acidic wine that has this beautiful, it's just so flexible and fun and citrusy, and it brings so much to the table as far as being able to drink it by itself, or it pairs really well with some unexpected foods. So we've just been really happy with that program, and Josh nailed it for me because I wanted a white, and we're making the wines. He's making the wines that I want to drink, which works out really well for everybody, I think, as long as I'm happy.
Right. Well, happy wife, right? Happy life, right? That's what my husband says all the time.
It does well. It really does well in Paso as a varietal. The white rounds in particular, they thrive and they can handle the extremes. We've been fortunate to source a little bit of the white. I didn't plant into white. That was from the La Vista Vineyard, which is out in the Adelaida district. It's out by Halter Ranch, Toblis Creek. It's kind of out in that zone.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Bright lights say they're gonna set my soul, gonna set my soul.
Did you know that Dracaena Wines has a wine club? We named it the Chalk Club. Draco is on our label, but Vegas was getting a bit jealous, so we decided he deserved to be our wine club spokesdog. In Las Vegas, betting chalk means that you are betting on all of the favorites, and we're gambling that once you taste our wines, we will become one of your favorite wineries. The club is simple, yet a bit different than most. We don't ask for a lot of commitment like others do. Choose between 3 tiers. The Sweet 16, where you'll receive 3 bottles twice a year and get 25% off all orders. Sign up for the Elite 8 and get 30% off all orders and receive 4 bottles twice a year. Or make it to the Final 4 and receive 6 bottles twice a year, as well as receiving 35% off all purchases. All tiers receive discounted shipping, are customizable, and are eligible for unlimited referral bonuses. Add $15 to your bank for each person you refer. Head to www.dracaenawines.com or the link in the show notes to find out all the Chalk Club has to offer and to sign up. We've stocked the odds so that you can get our award-winning wines without breaking the bank.
That wine is really unique in that we have an amphora, a terracotta pot for it, and that's how Josh vinified it and aged it, and that was an experiment in and of itself, and we've done it for 2 vintages now, and it's been really successful and super fun. I think we'll continue to utilize that amphora.
I want another one, but I don't know if I can buy one this year. I want to
What do you think the amphora adds to the Grenache Blanc?
I get that question a lot, and I do think
I'll interrupt him for a second and just say that it makes him frustrated sometimes because it's only an 80-gallon.
Yeah, it's so small.
It's really hard to work with, so it's frustrating, challenging, I should say.
I like the ageability, the porous, it kind of like concrete, but not like concrete at the same time. I like the age of, you're not getting into these off, whether new or neutral or off, flavors, aromas from barrels. You're getting the ageability that you wouldn't get in stainless. Like I do like to ferment in stainless as well, whites, reds, rosés, especially whites and rosés when you can keep them nice and cold and they can tick along real slow. These you can't retain, there's no temperature control on the terracotta, obviously. But it's a good shape. So it does have natural convection. So you do get a little bit of a natural lees stirring, which is nice. I don't get these clay flavor, sometimes the concrete, there's a little minerality, I guess. There's a little bit of complexity for sure. I don't really pick up a lot of things, aromas and flavors from the terracotta, but I do the way that it allows it to ferment and breathe and evolve it works very well.
And how many cases did you produce of this? This is the 2020 I have.
30.
Okay.
That's all we can.
So that's really all you can in the 80, right?
And I'm to that point where that's why I want another one. I don't want to, and I've done this 100 times where you make this awesome wine in concrete, but it's not enough. So then you got to blend it with something else that wasn't concrete. So you kind of don't have the same wine anymore. Where this, I'm like, we're going to do this amphora. We're going to make the wine. It is what it is. That's all we get.
And then what about the 2021? Was it a little bit more? Same amount?
Yeah.
It's a totally different color, which is interesting. Yeah, it's a totally different color. The 2020 that you have has this kind of a green brightness to it, kind of a limey tone, and the 2021 came out really gold and hay color.
More traditional looking.
Yeah.
Mother Nature, different.
Oxygen, I think.
Once it came out of the amphora, you mean?
It exposed a little bit.
Oh. And then how are you processing that?
Just direct to press and then just straight to the amphora.
Okay. But you're destemming, or you're doing whole cluster of that?
Whole cluster, just straight to press.
Okay.
Yeah, just press, squeeze it, and that's it. No skin contact besides in the press.
Okay. And what about the rosé, the best day rosé?
Same.
Same.
And just straight to press and then to neutral barrel.
Neutral barrel. Okay. Oh, okay. So no complete neutral barrel, or you doing a mixture of stainless and mixture and neutral?
I mean, you're talking days to settle.
Okay. Yeah.
Or go over, but that's it. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have Just Because Syrah 2020. And this is from your estate.
Not the first. That is from Homestead Hill.
This one's Homestead.
Like
Okay.
right next door to our estate.
Okay.
I could shoot his water tank with a 22.
Yeah, we're good friends with Sherman and Michelle Thatcher of Thatcher Winery. They were kind enough to throw us a bone and let us buy some Syrah from them when we were first getting started all 10 months ago. Well, I guess before we launched, but yeah, we launched in October 2021. So that was the wine that we came out with, that in the first date. And they've continued to be supportive.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually going to do a collaborative dinner at Thatcher Winery in October.
Very nice.
Both the Just Because 2020 and then Josh makes the second wine out of this. He splits the lot of grapes, and then the second wine is the Bedfellow, and that's the traditional Syrah. And so we're gonna do a little food and wine pairing, and yeah, you can buy tickets on Thatcher Winery. I'm just gonna plug it right now.
There you go.
But yeah, you can buy the tickets on Thatcher Winery. Michelle and Sherman and Josh and I will be there. We will be your hosts, and should be a really fun night. Yeah.
And I can link that up into the show notes too, so that they can link into there. So, but this is carbonic maceration, correct?
That's crazy. I love it. Super fun, totally different.
Another experiment.
I had never done
an experiment that's going to stay, I guess.
Yes, I just loaded the third vintage today. I picked it this morning.
Wow.
It's not your traditional carbonic by any means. It's it's not Pinot Noir or Grenache. We don't, when traditional carbonics, they load in a tank and then they'll each day or every other day, bleed all the juice and slowly keep pooling the juice to make that nouveau-ish, lighter style wine where I don't remove any juice. They leave it the whole time. So obviously you get
you can see it's not, see, you can't see through it.
No. So the 2020 we left in the ferment for 7 weeks. Did not touch it. Did not.
You would sniff it.
I can smell it, and that's it. I can't taste it, can't open it, can't do anything. I can smell it just to make sure that we're still, producing CO2 and, that the wine's protected. And just loaded it up. Didn't do a crazy sort or anything. It's a super natural. Just load it up, purge it of all its oxygen with some CO2, wrap it up, and you can walk away. It's actually very easy winemaking, but it's extremely risky winemaking.
I was gonna say there's not a lot of hands-on, but it is nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's very, like, when you have to week after week after week, penny after penny after penny on the line, right? It's like, okay, was this gonna work? So I love it though. It's almost like you can smell the cellar. It's got fresh baked breads and spices and yeast, and there's the aromas, and you get the Syrah and everything, but it's what we like to reference kind of like a summer red, a summer Syrah, where it's not overly tannic, it's not overly gamey or meaty. It has all those things you're looking for, but it's very approachable, but with these other aromas from that carbonic ferment that are super cool.
Yeah, I was at an event this weekend and I was tasting somebody else's Syrah, and as soon as I put it up, I'm like, oh, they didn't even tell me it was a Syrah, but like, I'm like, oh, this is a Syrah. The meat just was, and the smoke, not, now you have to say the right smoke, right, these days. That was in there. And it was so powerful, and it was a beautiful, beautiful wine. This is beautiful in a different way.
Would not. Everybody that has tried it from friends to critics to, are blown away. Like they have a preconceived notion of what it's, carbonic, I know what carbonic is. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, this is like no carbonic I've ever had.
Right.
And very, appreciative for what it is. Right. It's fun. And it's a Syrah that's fun, not overly serious, overly big, overly needing a hefty meal to go with it.
Good sipping wine.
It's a ton of fun.
We should probably change its name to like the eyebrow razor or something, because I do feel like everybody that tastes it, they kind of like,
wow, yeah. It's a very high acidic. It's a very high acidic wine to me. And like you said, the baking spice is there, and there is the smoked meat. It's there, but it's like kind of, and this isn't a bad thing. It's kind of like the afterthought. It's like, it's not in your face there, but it is. I think eye razor or eyebrow razor is a great name, because it's just something so different, than you expect. And then when you think it's different as a regular Syrah, as a typical Syrah, and it's different than what you expect with a carbonic. It's
lame.
For sure.
Yeah.
We were at about 35 cases of that, I think, and we're down to the last, 8 or something like that. So, and the 2021 is almost ready to. We'll release that in October.
Sure. And how does that compare to this? Is it?
I wanted to push the envelope a little more, so we went.
No.
we went 11 weeks, or no, 10 weeks.
10 weeks. Yeah.
10 weeks instead of 7. So it has aromatically, I think they're very similar, but the flavor profile, the mouthfeel, it has more weight, more tannin. With that, a little added skin time and stem time.
It feels like maybe a little bit more sophisticated siblings.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more to it. Fun.
It's interesting because it's really the body. It's a it's a lighter Syrah. So that's the carbonic that's the carbonic part of it. But the finish is not carbonic. The finish is just like constantly going, and
and for the next vintage is even a step up from that, for sure. And I think I will definitely keep. We'll see this year. I told them we were going bigger and longer. That we'll see. I don't know. That 10 week one I really do like, the 21, and it hasn't been bottled for that long. So I'll probably in the next couple of weeks while this 22 is going, I'll taste that and see, is that enough, or should we push it a little further?
And so altogether, how many cases are you producing?
Like
150.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super tiny.
It's like, it's really your first vintage, really,
Yeah. This is, we make, we have plans to grow to a point where we can, like this year, we have 2 wine club shipments, but we can't really fill those we don't have that 6 new wines, so
right.
Next year we'll be in full production, and that's a goal for us. And I think, we have no intention of going big like Peachy Canyon or Chronic. What we really want to do is make it authentic, and we handle everything ourselves. If you put an order in on our website, I will handle the shipping and packing and everything. If you're tasting a wine, Josh's hands were on it from beginning to end. And I think that's kind of, we're delighting in experimenting in an industry that we've been in for so long. And it gets old after a while. You're doing the same thing. You're producing the same wines. We've really had fun. I mean, if you can't see it on Josh's face, you can hear it in his voice, the excitement about trying something new. And it's been fun. But I think for us, it maybe 500. Josh says 1,000 cases. I'm more in the 500 range, but it's really just making it the wines that we want to make and sharing them with people who would like to get to know them better, just like, we are. So it's fun.
Depends on how we're sharing some of the fruit this year with some of our friends. So if I might have to be, if they want to keep coming back for it, if, you know, that would be hard to cut them off, but we'll see.
So yeah, our estate fruit that's picked this year, we were able to share it. So yeah, Scott Hawley from Torrin was there. We raised our kids together, so he was there this morning taking his fruit, and yeah, it's fun to collaborate in that way.
Torrin is going to take some.
Stanley
over at Top Winery is going to take some. Mac over at McPrice Myers is going to take a little, and then Peachy obviously take theirs. And it'll be cool. I'm as excited to see what my friends, colleagues, you know, what they do with the fruit that we've worked so hard on getting to this point. Like,
right, like you could have a party where you're tasting your vineyard and everybody else's expression.
Like, in 2 years, like, hey, you guys come over, we'll do dinner. Let's try I would really want to try all the wines with you guys.
From our estate vineyard. Yeah, it's exciting.
Now, these wines are all 100% of the varietal that it is, but you planted varieties that like to play together. So
already, yeah.
You have a
like in 21, I did a Syrah Grenache co-ferment.
Okay.
In barrel. And then we have, I've already done some trials on the 21 blending.
Right here in our living room where we're sitting.
The way it goes, yep.
Fun, yeah.
Then some Mourvedre Carignan, definitely a Carignan heavy, Carignan base wine. I've blended so much for so long, especially with chronic, you know. It is definitely a winemaker's vineyard where if we were just growers, we would have planted one varietal and have been way easier to sell and grow and do everything the same instead of having, you know, an acre of this and an acre of that and an acre of that, where it's like, okay, don't do this to that one, do that to that one. But
I know I saw your plot map of your acreage. I was like, wow.
My friends who are just growers are like, dude, you're got rocks in your head. But it gives us the opportunity. Like, I really want to be, you know, to do Thibido the way and to get it to where, you know, whether it's 500 or 1,000 cases, but to have those options off of just our estate is huge. To be able to do as many reds and rosés, and, you know, the only thing we don't have is white, but maybe someday we'll graft something. I don't know.
And Carignan, I seriously, I love all these, you know, Carignan is such a fun grape, such a fun variety to, I mean, I haven't worked with it, but I've tasted a lot of it because I love it so much. And it's just a fun grape, and it's a very expressive grape to me that, you know, very much takes on what the vineyard.
I'm excited. Yeah, I don't, right now, the little we have in barrel, the guys in the cellar are kicking me already for even messing with blending with it. They like, it's so good on its own, and it's so cool that we'll see.
I feel like you blended it up and then you kind of like dialed it back, and
it really is. It's like you said, it's very unique and special to where it's so distinct in the lineup. Like, you start tweaking it a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, everything's now starting to taste the same. Like, let it be its own person. Let it, you know, its own course.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will volunteer to taste that whenever you're looking to, you know, let's see what the Carignan is doing. I will be there instantaneously for you. I am at your mercy for that. So, the other thing that I absolutely loved on your site is that you really are into nature, or I should say environment, and that you have purposely, you know, how you package the wines and everything you use is so sustainable in terms of that. So have you always been that way, or, you know, like, it seems to be a very strong statement with Thibido?
I think.
Well, you do package first.
Yeah, I think for us, coming from Peachy Canyon, and, you know, you start talking about producing large lots of wines, and every penny counts, and you have to look at it from a business perspective, right? And same with chronic. As it sold and things were adjusting, you can't pay as close of attention to the details because you're on a larger scale. With this project, when we sat down and said, okay, we're going to package this wine, it was really important to us to choose the things that were the most environmentally conscious. And so that excluded an unnecessary foil or a wax closure. It's wasteful. We don't need it, especially because we're an online only brand. If we're shipping it, we really try to get people to, we have 3 bottle boxes and 6 bottle boxes. It's like, please, if you buy a 3 bottle box, we will knock $5 off your shipping so that you can fill the box, because we really want to make it count if we're going to ship it. The glass is super lightweight.
Yeah, the days of, the heavy glass, just as light as we could, and just, it's the same look. It just doesn't feel 100 pounds.
It's definitely bucking the trend for the luxury brand. I mean, it costs us a lot to produce it, but
how funny is that, right? It costs you so much money to produce a lighter bottle. But you know what? The bottles are kind of like, to me, that happy medium, because I have felt lightweight bottles that are like, you pick it up and it goes flying.
Right.
And they're lightweight. I can tell they're lightweight, but they're quality lightweight.
They're not that flat bottom, super cheap like that. That was like, okay, that it wouldn't work.
Right. We
the label.
Yeah, we tried really hard to go with the most environmentally friendly paper. So every collateral that you get in our shipment is 100% post-consumer waste. And our label paper, though problematic, is 100% post-consumer waste. And I say problematic because yet another experiment we did. The 2020 labels are a large wrap label. And when they came through the bottling line, they bubbled. And we thought, oh gosh, the label too big. So so the 2021, the label, we shrunk the size down a little bit and we bottled them and they bubbled again. And so what we've realized is nobody really uses 100% post-consumer waste paper. It's not treated. We don't have it waterproofed. It's like as minimal, as natural of a state that we could get. But because it's so thin, it just bubbles. And so after 2,
it doesn't stretch, and really it won't, because
it doesn't adhere to the bottle.
Oh, okay.
Papers or the one, so we're trying to just embrace the bubbles. As the more bubbles, the more environmentally friendly these bottles are.
Like when you put that in an ice bath, that thing just goes to
disintegrates.
But it's still there. It just kind of gets all wrinkly and weird.
Yeah.
And
So-
do you do all of the labels? I mean, this rosé is, all of the labels are cool, but this is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's been a really fun experiment for me. I've worked on labels I helped with the Peachy Canyon labels for a long time. We revamped the new labels for Peachy Canyon the last couple of years. You'll see the new blue labels that came out. That was kind of part of my project. And I hooked up with my sister, who's a graphic design artist, when we were looking for a refresh on Peachy Canyon. And she's been a graphic design artist for decades, but didn't really specialize in labels. She's done a little bit. And I thought, well, she's easy to work with, people like. And so we went through the process with Peachy Canyon, and it was so easy for me to communicate. And so for Thibido, it was such a fun way to move forward, because I could just sort of think it and she understood it. So the first 2 labels that we did were pretty safe. And the Best Day Rosé, it was like, throw caution to the wind. There's a little whimsy in there. You'll find, there's some animals with sunglasses, or, there's some wine drinking mice on it. And we really just put some cute little fun things in there. So when you put it on your, set it on your dinner table, or, bring it over to a friend's, there's topic of conversation.
Right. It's a conversation piece. The little owl with the glasses. I'm looking for the mice. I don't see I'll find the mice later. Oh, there he is. I see him. They're there. Okay. And even like you have like cool, like it's like in the background of the label is the best day. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just it's a beautiful label, and it's so natural. Like they're all natural, you know.
They're ready to they'll keep evolving, and that's kind of the fun part about having such a small brand. We're not distributed, you know, across the nation, and so we don't really have to hold shelf space. So we like to think that every wine club experience, every shipment that they get is a kind of a fun surprise. It's a gift, you know, and it'll keep evolving and changing, and that's fun for.
Well, I think they're beautiful. I really do. So, you know, kudos to you. So where can people, oh no, actually, before we even get to where can people find you, the other thing is you give back so much. You're part of Must Charities and the 1% for the Planet. So can you explain what 1% for the Planet is and Must Charities and why you feel they're worthy?
Part of paying homage to the Thibido name was to follow in the footsteps of that family. And so it was important for us to establish giving back. And it seemed like a pretty natural choice to go with Must Charities. It's local. It's all funded by all the entire wine industry. It's super cool organization. They just raised $2.5 million to give back to the community just this month. And so it's definitely gaining ground. So we feel really proud to be a part of that. And that's been really a fun way to feel connected locally. The 1% for the Planet was our way of going beyond just the wine industry. Beyond, you know, we wanted to recognize that we are farmers first, and we're all about making sure that we can pass our vineyard on to the next generation and make sure that we have a planet that is self-sustaining. And we're not there right now, obviously, but anything that we could do as a brand was important. So 1% for the Planet was the best way that we thought we could move forward with that.
That's beautiful. I give you so much credit. We love to give back also. We have on our site that you can work with us for whatever charity, and we'll work with them. It's really only the animal charities that reach out to us. The humans don't want to reach out to us, but we have, you know, maybe because there's a dog on our label, it's all, you know, it's all the charities that want to reach out. But it's so important to, I think, to accept that we're lucky to be where we are and to be doing something that we love so much, and to be able to give back is an important thing for us also. So thank you for doing that. Now, where can people find you? How do they get these wines in their hands? How can they taste them?
So our website is primarily where you can find us, and we ship to California, Montana, Wyoming, and Washington right now. If you are from another state and you're interested, please shoot me an email and I'm happy to put that on the list. And then we have a distributor in Montana, and we are working with someone down in San Diego to get our wines a little bit more widely distributed. And we were lucky enough to be picked up by the Backyard right here in Paso Robles. So you can find our wines there. Thank you, Russell Baker.
Amy.
And Amy, yes. Yeah, and
The
so,
website.
and the website, thibidowinery.com, and that's us. And you can reach out. We don't have a tasting room. We do host occasional pop-ups. We've done some really successful ones. We did our first wine club pop-up and did private events. It was just our family. Josh and I hosted every individual table, and our kids bust the dishes, and we were just taking it back to the roots, as authentic and sincere and down home as we could. And that was super fun. So we advertised a little general public pop-up over the summer, and we just host it right in the winery, right next to our barrels and tanks. And you sit down with us and we talk your ear off and pour you wine, and it's really fun. So we're looking forward to doing that again in October for our wine club members. And then, occasionally when it works in our schedule, we're parents and working humans and life is chaotic. So we try to humor everybody as best we can. So we will advertise a couple more throughout the year so we can bring people in and let them experience our wine. And we have a reservation site, or we have a reservation page on our website, and it's just basically a form reservation. And if you have a date in mind and you're coming through town, and it works for our schedule, we're happy to accommodate you, and we'll bring you into the winery, and it'll just be us, and that's what you get. We don't have any employees. So, but it's hard to, it's hard to be available all the time, but we try. So, yeah.
But that, what people would rather really talk to you too.
Yeah.
It's just how it is, and I think that's actually one of the things that makes Paso so wonderful when people come into Paso. The majority of it is the people behind the bottle are the people you're talking to. So, well, I want to thank you both for coming on, and I know how hectic it is right now, so very, very appreciative. Thank you so much for sharing these wines. I will be posting, for people listening, I will be posting about them on my social media, so keep paying attention to that. And seriously, this is a kick-ass wine. And it is seriously, this Just Because is incredible. So thank you very much. I will put all of your information in the show notes so people can find you. And have a wonderful day. And I know you just came in, Josh, so you don't have a glass, but I'll raise it for both of you and say slancha.
Cheers. Thanks, Lori. Thanks so much.
Thank you. This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt-Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com and sign up for my newsletter at exploringthewineglass.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Podcast music is Wine by Kevins. Until next week, slancha.
Oh, no, never let you go. Oh, no, never let you go. Oh, no,
I want
never
it
let
last
you
glass.
go.